to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll open the meeting with public comment. Anyone have any public comment?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Hugh Van Swearingen, Chairman of the Hospital District Board. And just as a courtesy, I wanted to leave you copies of a revised brochure I've made up showing the effect of the mill levy on property and how much it will increase from the old levy.
Thank you.
And so, we had some discussions on that, and there was people that said we gotta show how much more it is. And I also, that's on that inside page there. And I also included, shows what it increases, and then down the bottom line, showing how to compute your levy yourself very easily. So that anybody wonder what your property is, take your current tax bill, look up your the tax valuation, taxable valuation, multiply it by a number, and that's it.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Thanks, Hugh.
Thanks, Steve.
I have one thing, Mike, just not really a comment, but his way of information. I went to the fire board meeting last week, and they said that every Wednesday in March, Dawson Dam will be open for a tour. So if you guys are interested in that, just get a hold of Mike, or Ed Schindel, and he's coordinating that. So if you guys want to go check out the dam, good opportunity to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One Sean. Yes, Nancy.
Under public comment, my name is Nancy Marks. I'm a volunteer for your hospital district board. We're currently working on a grant with Mike Conkey to replace the generator at the hospital. The reason for the replacement is that the generator's been in service for 35 years. There's no replacement parts for it, and one of the switches went out, and they'll have to rebuild the switch to repair it. The third reason is that the power output now is dirty, meaning it doesn't do a good job with computers and that sort of thing. Not just the power coming on, but it doesn't do a good job for computers either. So, we're going to apply. It's due March 9, and we would really appreciate it if the commissioners would sign a letter of support to go along with the application. Thank you.
Okay, we have this letter here. Can we just go ahead and should we read this? Or? Regarding backup generator grant application letter of support, senior advisory committee members. The Broadwater County Board of County Commissioners appreciates the opportunity this grant offers for our community. We support and approve the Broadwater County Hospital District's application for the Hospital Emergency Power Generator Project under the fiscal year 2018 State Homeland Security Program grant. This project will replace the aging backup emergency generator, which is nearly 40 years old. The new generator will bring the hospital emergency system up to current standards for a critical access hospital. The project is in support of Category E Public Health, Healthcare, and EMS. The community hospital is considered essential infrastructure in Broadwater County. The replacement of the current backup generator for the critical access hospital and long-term care facility will keep the hospital up to code, as well as keep it in regulation for emergency services for the 5,747 residents of Broadwater County. It will also help Broadwater County Emergency Services better cooperate with nearby communities in emergency situations. So I will entertain a motion to approve the letter of support.
So move.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy, we'll go ahead and record that and get you a copy.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks.
Did you grab that? Let's see, we need to, any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to, minutes. We have minutes here to be approved from February 5th, 2018 and February 20th, 2018.
I move to approve both sets as submitted.
No second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Motion's been made and seconded to approve minutes of February 5th and February 20th, 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, the next thing in mail here is we have a letter from Corey Swanson about the Blackfoot contracts. It's commissioners. Attached to this letter is the revised Blackfoot Communications Service Order, Master Service Agreement and Service Level Agreement, which together constitute the proposed contract for service between Broadwater County and Blackfoot Communications. I'm providing this to you for review and signature and want to ensure you see a couple of items on the revised agreement since our last public meeting in which I reviewed the amendments which were done in response to my requests and recommendations. Since that time, there have been 2 requested amendments. First, due to the delay in executing this contract as well as engineering difficulties in the winter, they have requested a deadline of March 16th to complete the analysis and confirm whether they can provide the services outlined in this agreement. This is later than anticipated, mid to end of February timeline we had previously discussed. Second, after explaining the financial cost of transitioning from our current providers to Blackfoot and the early contract withdrawal penalties we would face, they have suggested we extend the contract from 60 to 62 months, and Blackfoot would provide the first 2 months of service without charge. The monthly fee is about $3,500, so this would be a savings of $7,000 to the county. Finally, you had instructed me to inquire whether we could sever the phone services from the data service in order to transition them at a different time and save termination costs on the other contracts. They have replied that this is not feasible because the phone service is over half of the contract. They suggested the 2 months of service without fee as an alternative to this suggestion. Other than those issues, this is the amended agreement I presented to you in late January. I recommend you approve it rapidly so we can move forward with upgrading our service. Corey Swanson, Broadwater County Attorney. Is there any discussion on this then, or do we want to go ahead?
Yeah, it's been dragging on and on and on.
I think
would,
the
these
votes-
recent amendments, I'd make a motion that we accept this Blackfoot contract.
I was just gonna say, it's already been voted on. We don't need another vote. This is an update
Okay.
of that contract. So I would say that you could just sign it. I won't second the motion.
I'll sign these and get them sent out Saturday.
One thing we do need to do though is determine where the $23,000 roughly is going to come from. It's outside of the budget, so there's no budget authority for the accounting department, so they need instruction from us on where that comes from. It's kind of like we did with the ambulance.
Okay,
And that can either be done today or it can be noticed. I would suggest we just take care of it.
We will do some brainstorming and see what we can come up with there. Let's see, other mail here. This is a letter from the Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks regarding peregrine falconry take proposed. This is a proposal for allowing persons to capture nestlings of peregrine falcons for the 2018-19 season.
We should also have the contract go to Ann, so we have a record of that too.
The Verizon Wireless bill, do you see this?
Yeah.
Some claims for the counting period 2/18, and a total of $211,711.45.
Move to approve the, or sign the approved claims and stated amount.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pay the claims in a set amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next one we have here is a federal financial report for the airport and an outlay report and request for reimbursement for construction programs that require signatures.
That's an ongoing project. I'd suggest that we go ahead and just sign it. It should require another vote.
Okay, we'll move on to COS review. You got anything, Bernadette?
I do. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a boundary location between the Bradley family, Bradley Ranch Legacy and Hahn Ranch, up White Horse Creek behind the mansion up there in Elkhorns. 323 acres and 294 acres. They did just a boundary location here of 17 acres.
I will move to support the boundary relocation for the Bradleys and Hahn families as presented.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to support the boundary location for Radley Ranch and Hans. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bernadette, that was quick.
Yeah, quick and painless. I like surveying up there.
Okay, so we'll move on to WWC since you guys are here. Once we get your
All right,
taken care of.
mostly I've got documents for your guys' consideration and signature. So the first one I'm going to give you in triplicate is the memorandum of understanding between Wilson and the county. on the Reach 15 bank stabilization project. So if you recall, there's a pretty good scour hole moving towards Terry Frost's mother's house, which is basically taking away quite a bit of Mr. Wilson's property. We've got about 100 lineal feet of bank stabilization project there. This is the agreement that basically lays out the responsibilities between the county and Mr. Wilson, since this is a county grant. And so basically it lays out that he's going to pay 25% of that construction cost. So he is proposing to do that with in-kind work at this point. We did have a meeting between him and BSC Excavating, which is the contractor that had the low bid. And we believe we have an agreement that works with everybody as far as Mr. Wilson providing that 25%. So what you're also going to see is the construction contract, the notice of award, and then the first change order, which is going to be a significant reduction in that total cost, because he's going to transfer those specific items over to Mr. Wilson to complete, so that he can get his in-kind contribution. So this agreement was reviewed by Bob Murdo at the request of Corey Swanson. So we've just been working with him on this project, as Corey suggested. So that's number one, and it's just a 2-page document. So Tim's already signed 3 copies of this. We need to basically fill in the effective date, how long it'll be in effect for, who our principal contact's going to be, and then I would assume Mike would just have you sign it as the chair. So.
May I ask you a question on that, Sean?
Yes.
The 25% is the 25% match of the grant. It's not 25% of the cost picked up, 75% by the county.
Correct.
Right? Okay,
Correct.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, so the first change order, I think, reduces the total project cost down to, this is where it gets complicated, but it becomes, the new contract price will move from $17,655 down to $13,680. Now you have to realize that $13,680 is 75% of the total project cost. So roughly, Mr. Wilson's in-kind match is going to have to equal somewhere around $4,400 to make that a whole project.
Okay,
So I've explained that to him. He understands that. He's got quite a bit of work to do that either he or his son's going to do, and so he thinks he can get there. I think the only thing we really need to discuss is what happens if he doesn't meet the 25%. He's going to have to either pay it, right, or perform more in-kind services. And there's quite a bit to do. He's got a lot of willow cutting, and he's going to do all the prep work, and he's going to fill in that scour hole with the rock that he's already got there. So I think, realistically he could get there, but I guess other than this MOU, there are no assurances, for the county as a backup. And that's something we all need to consider. And do we want him to put some money on the table to make sure? If so, how much? If not, do we trust that he can get there? Those are all things that we need to consider, and I feel like we've got to give that some due consideration here today.
did the attorneys have a suggestion on that?
Not necessarily.
Is there any teeth in the MOU or any comment that states if you do not reach in kind, that the monetary balance?
He has to pay it with either cash or in-kind services.
Okay.
That MOU does lay it out, and it is fairly contractual. I'm thinking that that's going to hold up pretty well in court. If that has to go there, I'd hate to even take that there for
Right.
the amount we're talking about. That's why I think we'd spend way more paying an attorney to even look at this than than really dealing with $4,400. So I think Tim's been you know, fairly candid. He got hit by some unexpected expenses, you know, he's in a lawsuit over his roof because he just had that completed. Those are separate issues, but I guess realistically, in my mind, do we want to ask for, you know, the county to hold 25% match until it's complete? Which, you know, I'm not sure how long that would take to complete. You know, once they get started, realistically, if they got it all, they had good weather, they could knock this thing out in a week, to be honest with you. It's a pretty small project. So do we ask for that 25%? Do we ask for a part of that? I guess that's kind of your call, I would say.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
couple of questions. One is what's the completion date on this? Have we got an extension?
We haven't yet.
So right now, we're sitting at March 1st?
March 15th. March 15th is the date. That's probably a tiny bit flexible. Nadine has to have all of her stuff turned in by May 15th if we do not get the extension.
Okay. Second
So-
question, would it be feasible to have bonding for him to furnish the
It
bond?
absolutely would be, yeah.
I would recommend that.
That wouldn't cost him as much to do that.
Then if he fails, then we collect on the bond.
That'd be a good idea, to be protecting us, and probably the simplest route to go.
Right. So he could, with a bond, he could do a letter of credit. He could do an actual bond through a bonding agency. He could do cash in lieu. So he does have some options. It would be very similar to a subdivision agreement, which you all are very familiar with. So that could be an alternative.
We need to put that in the memorandum of understanding,
I think we just
Right.
ask for it.
an addendum or something. Okay,
Yeah.
just ask for it.
The county does have the leverage position here because it's their grant.
I'm just concerned because he is involved in a lot of other financial, legal ramifications. Things are going on with that thing, as a landowner, I mean.
So what situation are we in even if he does get this bonding and he doesn't have it completed by March 15th, then where are we at as far as this grant goes and we're not completed by March 15th?
So I'd have to talk to Nadine to figure out exactly where that's gonna go. We have applied for the deadline extension. We're all fairly comfortable that we're gonna get it. There is that chance that we may not. There always is that chance that we may not. Again, Nadine's gotta have all of her documentation in by May 15th. So she's not gonna be happy if we go past March 15th, I can tell you that. But could we do it? Yes. Could we get it to her? Yes. And work with her to get it done? Yes. I think, you know, getting it done by March 15th at this point, you can all see the frost is still well on the ground. It's gonna be interesting to say the least.
You have something else, Mike?
Yes. How are we coming on the bridges? I see they're not to have guardrails up on 15.
Right, and again, I think we should know anytime on that. The county is prepared to get into high gear if they need to get those.
Will we install them or the
That-
contractor will?
No, the county crews, the contractor's completely done.
Okay.
So it's all on county crews at this point to finish that.
They have the materials and everything on.
They have
site.
materials on site, they're ready to go if they absolutely have to.
Is that on all the bridges, the guardrails?
Yeah,
Information later.
there's about a 35 to 37 foot transition section off the end of each. And so you've got basically the four corners of the bridge that have about a 37.5 foot guardrail section that goes on the end of each one of those. And it's just really to protect the traveling public, because it's a fairly steep drop off in that first piece. And as you can see, we raised the grade quite a bit on Lightning Barn and Carson Lane.
Back to this bond, what, he'd be talking about like $4,500.
I would just, yeah, do exactly 25% of the 13,680, which. Thanks, Laura. No, yeah, so if you go, actually, Laura, if you do,
25%.
13,680, 13,680, and divide that by 0.75.
You come up with 18,240.
Right, and now subtract 13,680.
And that would be $4,560.
There it is, that's the amount.
That shouldn't be hard for, other than a little legwork, you should get that pretty simple.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and if, honestly, you should be able to just call the bank and get a letter of credit. That's the easy way to go. I'll talk to him about that today.
Okay.
I
Well,
think it's a good idea to protect their interests there on that. And the thing is, if he doesn't at the time, they could have BS, he can do it, finish up that part of it at that time.
Correct. Correct.
I'll move then that we sign the MOU with a requirement for bonding in the amount of $4,560.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and second to approve the memorandum of understanding with the inclusion of a bond for $4,560. All in favor?
I
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries.
You're gonna talk to him today, are you?
I will, yeah. I'll send you all an email to the result of that discussion.
Thanks.
This is document number 2, this is the contract.
Can
Go ahead.
The effective date here says will be in effect for blank months.
You know, if I were you, I'd just put, what do you think, Amber, 6 months on that? Be more than enough to cover that.
Yeah, plenty.
6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So document number 2 is the contract between owner and contractor, which in this case, owner is going to be Broadwater County, it's your grant, which the contractor has already signed. This is what went out in the bid package, so you've already seen a portion of that. And this just spells out the terms and conditions of the construction contract. And again, there are 3 copies of that.
And we still think that we can hit the 25% within kind, the road crew?
So that's going to be interesting. Again, basically, the county crews were way more efficient than either they, I think, or anybody thought they were going to be, which is really good. So I did talk to Dana at length about this, and if we get the deadline extension, they still have, some gravel they need to put down. They still got some stream work, a little bit to do. They still have some guardrail to put in, and little bits and odds and ends everywhere. They're probably going to end up a little short on their match. Now, and I did talk to Dana about that. He did have money left over in his gravel budget that he can pull from to satisfy that in-kind if necessary. So that's at least covered under this, and so that it would be better, I think, if it can get the deadline extension, can put it over the 2 fiscal years, which kind of helps him too. The good news is everything's already been paid out more or less on this, so it's just a matter of the accounting, where does it come from, and how much match we're gonna end up with.
Okay,
So, there's a backup plan, I guess,
all right.
with that. And in the end, you know, I guess the thing to consider is we got 3 brand-new bridges for 25% of their actual cost,
Yeah,
which ended up being a really good deal. So, and use of the precast components definitely helped save a ton of money on that project, so.
Yeah, especially with the winter, was it have been something, there's pouring here, so.
Oh, yeah, it would have been, that would have nearly, I would say would have added another 50% to the project costs, easily.
wow. Well, I will move we sign the contract as presented.
No, second.
Motion been made and seconded to sign the contract as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Okay. Third one is change order number 1, which reduces the project cost from $17,655 to $13,680. Again, in triplicate, there are 3 copies. What's that?
You have to sign that one.
Yes. I just got reminded I have to sign that one as well.
Since the cost is going down, is there a charge for the change order?
A charge for the change order,
Yeah.
as far as,
Are they gonna charge us for the change?
no,
Okay.
So is.
That's the nice thing about change orders, they can go both ways, so.
All right.
You like the ones that go down, you don't like the ones that go
Don't
up.
see those
Right.
very often.
Yeah, you do not.
That's for sure. Other than this is such a small project. it's-
Yeah, and really, that's just, I got a hats off to BSC for being so flexible and working with Tim Wilson on this, so. It was pretty fair.
I will move that we sign the change order for this project as presented.
No, second.
Motion's been made and seconded to sign contract as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
And last but not least is the notice to proceed. So that basically just spells out the terms of the contract starts today, ends March 15th.
And all parties are aware of that.
They are aware of that.
So will there be more paperwork if we get this extension? Do we have to go through this again then or not?
We'll probably do a change order to extend the time. So yeah, we'll have one more piece of information to sign.
This has been a long project, but a good project. I think it's a nice example of what can be done, so thank you.
It's taken some patience, I'm not gonna lie about that.
On the rip, what's the vertical part on the riprap, roughly?
The vertical.
You know, there's 100 foot in length, I mean,
Oh,
the vertical part of it.
4 feet.
yeah, about 4 feet.
Was that all?
Yeah, it's 3 feet into the bed of the bank and probably another 4 feet up above, so, yeah, I guess roughly 7 feet.
7 feet.
Mhm.
Okay, entertain a motion to execute the notice to proceed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to issue notice to proceed. We're all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
So I have one last question. I did notice you guys have procurement policy on your agenda for today. And will that impact any of this? As far as your, I don't know what your new procurement policy consists of, I guess, but as far as going out for construction,
It shouldn't, since this has already started, in my
Right.
view, and defer to you guys too, but I would think it starts fresh new now,
Yeah.
or whenever it's approved, not retro.
Okay.
That would just be too complicated, and then the question becomes, where do you draw that line?
Right.
Yeah.
There is, the only reason I ask is there is one more potential project if we get the deadline extension, and that would be Antonix. So we would go through a very similar process like this on that.
Yeah, and I think, since it's part of this ongoing project, I would make part of the motion to exclude anything ongoing, even like Antonix, that
Okay.
could be defined as new
It's-
within ongoing, it's just
We may not be
complicated.
able to do that as far as that goes, just because of the federal requirement. Because we have to use the current standard, your current procurement policy.
Oh, okay, so would that be a problem?
I don't think so. I'd probably just need to know what the terms of the new procurement policy.
I'll email it to you as soon as they approve it.
Okay,
They have a couple of drafts, I'll show you.
perfect.
It's not, it doesn't add a whole lot of steps, it's pretty simple,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah. Sounds good.
all right.
I think that's all I have.
Well, thank you both very much,
Yeah.
this has been a lot of work, appreciate it.
We're slowly gaining.
Yeah,
Cross your fingers to get the approval on the deadlines.
right, yeah, for everybody.
Okay.
I have a question. Is it possible that Sean can sign his piece with those triplicates, and can we get one back to take with us?
We have triple, so
Which ones do you need to sign, Sean?
I think, not that one,
Okay.
I think it's this one. Oh,
It's the change order.
it is the change order. And last one.
Do you need your copy today?
Just one, yeah.
If we could get one of each one of them.
And still one from the ground.
Not steal, you can take. We don't steal here.
All right. Perfect.
There you go.
All right.
So what is the status with Antonix? Are we still,
You know, Sam's been hard to get a hold of. And, you know, he's aware of it. And if we don't get the extension, it's just not gonna happen. So, there'll be a little bit of paperwork there, but the project stands by itself without his project, as far as the benefit cost and everything else. And I think we can explain that to FEMA and just say, you know, we've got a log of all the contacts, the times we've tried to call him, and, you know, if he didn't respond, he didn't respond. So, hopefully, you know, he'll get a little time, we'll get the extension, and we can do something out there to help him out, because I know every time the creek comes up, he gets water in his basement. And, so I think there's some things we can do, it's just a matter of whether he really wants to do that or not.
That Dry Creek and Flint Lane, that's completely, there's nothing else left on that at all, is there?
Done and closed out.
I thought it was final. though.
Yeah. Yeah, Nadine actually came out and toured the project, and was pleased.
Yes.
And we didn't disturb one little bit of Utes Ladies Trestle habitat, so, for the record. Okay,
Thank you again.
you bet, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You talk to me. Yes, sir.
Okay.
See, oh, some more stuff here. Let's see, journal adjustments need approval for December.
I'll move to approve those. I reviewed them this morning and they all had at least 2 eyes on them, yours and mine.
I went through December, so it should be there. Anyway, I'll second it.
Okay, a motion's been made, accepted to journal adjustments for December. All in favor?
I
Aye. Okay, we got some
And then,
other-
Mike, what you need to do on the title sheet is sign it and put approved and date it. And that's for the auditors so that they can have a quick glance that we are reviewing those.
We had this before moving on, gas allocation.
We just got the letter stating that we had it, but we didn't do anything or acknowledge, whoops, grab that little guy. Or acknowledge, you know, how we're going to proceed with that.
This is the money that Dana had requested for,
No, that last legislative session, I forget the name of the bill or the number of the bill, it was called the gas tax bill. What that is stating that the $22,000 is what this county earned as part of the gas tax. What it was is it was a joint project between the Long Haul Truckers Association, stock growers, economic development, number of legislators. It was quite a, chambers of commerce where I think they took lead on this, Webb Brown in Helena. Anyway, they put together this package with the idea being that we need more infrastructure money and why not share it with the tourists? So that's what's behind it. So it's a amount on gas, and I forget by how much, and it goes partially to Department of Transportation, to the state, partly to highway patrol officers, and then partly to counties. The part that goes, counties and cities, the part that goes to local government has to be matched. So there's a match component, and then you have to follow a process in order to use that money. So the $22,000 is from 4 months of next year. So when we think about what we have to work with next year, roughly you can times that by 12 instead of by the 4. So it'll be about 3 times more than what you see there. In order to utilize that money, we have to follow a process that's in the law. It says we have to have a plan, we have to write up a resolution, we have to follow the resolution process to make that part of the plan. The idea is the legislators wanted a paper trail of support from local government. A lot of them felt they kind of went out on a limb by voting for another tax, and so that's the reason for that. So what that is the email from Dana detailing his plan, Eric's email detailing the process, and then a detailed step-by-step of what the process is and the history of the legislation. So what we need to do is probably vote to approve Dana's plan, and then also determine who's gonna write up the resolution and what date we wanna have that. in front of the public.
Is Dana's plan in here?
Should be. He sent us an email. If it's not, it was sent to us, and what it is he wants to use a certain amount for some bridge repairs. 2 of them, Cottonwood and Sand Hill. He wants to widen those, put up a guardrail, and then the bulk of it he wants to use for mag chloride and determine some roads in each of the 3 districts that need a mag chloride to keep the dust down. That's something he's been kind of working with, we've been talking about for a couple of years now, and now there's that opportunity to move forward with that plan. We have a couple of models for the resolution, so that shouldn't be too hard. It just takes a little time to get it typed up and the details inserted for Broadwater County's plan.
So we'll entertain a motion to approve Dana's plan for the use of this money for bridges and for mag chloride on several roads.
I will so move.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the plan, the gas tax allocation. All in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carries.
So I would suggest we get this done by the middle of March, just so that we can get it done as soon as possible, since it is new and not risk not meeting that deadline.
Do you want to read this off or just post this?
No, we need to discuss that.
Okay,
So,
we've got 10 minutes here.
we have in law, Title 39, I think is HR law, and we also have it in our personnel policies and procedures that the commission will review and sign department heads' timesheets. We also require this of our supervisors, that they review and sign the timesheets for their staff. We haven't been doing that, and it needs to get done, but that's a side issue. What this is a new policy with these online timesheets, and there's a requirement there. So it kind of takes it out of the where we've been and puts it into an area where now we're going to have to follow the law, B, our personnel policies. So when a department head submits their timesheet, there's a step in there that sends it directly to their supervisors for approval. That will be us. The question is, do we want 1, 2, or 3 commissioners to review and okay those timesheets? I would argue we need at the very least a majority of the commission. I would argue, and it might have to wait till January, that we have 3 commissioners approve the timesheets. The reason for that with this new program is it's written into the program because it's law. But the reason that I've been harping on this commission to actually follow this step is, again, law, but also it is a deterrent. The signing of the timesheets in no way says that we are riding in graders or trucks or sitting on our employees' shoulders while they do their work from 9 to 5 every day. What it is a deterrent to anyone who would be tempted to cheat. Not that we have anybody who would have that on their minds, but anybody who is tempted, who knows that their boss is watching, has a reason to not be tempted. It's prevention, just like embezzlement. When you know somebody's watching, there's a deterrent there that keeps somebody from doing something they shouldn't. So, just doing the job, being here, we have, Mike, you've seen this, we have people drop in every day of the week with questions, issues, conversation about what they're doing in their job. For us to then follow through on a bi-weekly basis and approve their timesheet, we know what they've been doing because we've been communicating with our staff. It's something we should have been doing, we haven't been doing, and this is just a new requirement with these online time cards. So I guess the only question I have, and the reason for Debbie's email is it 2 of us or 3 of us that are going to be approving these timesheets? And they need approval to be paid. And they also need approval because it's just smart governance, smart supervision on our parts. It's kind of been in the past, well, we'll just have one person. Well, one person is 1/3, and that's not a majority of this commission. We're a team of 3, and that's why I say it should be all 3 of us. What say you? And this was also an email sent to all of us, so it's old news.
Could I play devil's advocate for a moment? What happens if it's payday or the day that the timesheets are due and one of you is out of town or ill and cannot click? What happens there? I'm just saying.
No, it's a good question, and that it should be ideally all 3 of us, but for sure at least a majority of the commission, which would just be 2, and I think that's an important thing to have. I mean, most of us have our email on our phones, on our home computers. I don't think anybody just has it here at the office. But when somebody's on vacation, oftentimes you kind of leave your work behind. So I think Ann's point is a good one. I would say ideally 3, but it can be 2.
And that's what I would say too. Ideally, it'd be nice to have all 3, but you just about have to have 2, just in case somebody is there.
And 1 is not a majority of the commission, so therefore you're getting into a realm of, it wasn't approved by the commission, it was approved by just 1, which is 1/3. But yeah, good point, thanks, Ann.
Yeah, it's a majority.
So, in response to Debbie's email and to make this official, I move that supervisors' timesheets from this point on be approved by the commission, ideally all 3, but for certain a majority of 2, in order to be paid.
And this pertains only to supervisors and department heads, not the employees of each department, right?
Well, yes, my motion does, however, every employee's timesheet should be approved and signed by their supervisor. So if those supervisors are not signing their employees' timesheets, we need to have a conversation with them. And in order for us to have a conversation with them, we should be doing our job, so that we have a credibility leg to stand on. But it's required in law. This is not something that we've just picked out of the clouds. It's something that we're told we must do.
If that's the motion on the floor, I'll go ahead with it. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to have 2 commissioners approve supervisors' time cards. All in favor?
And I would repeat that it is ideally 3,
Preferably 3.
yeah, I,
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I don't know if you need that, but
This is a letter regarding Broadwater County support for continued e-government services. Dear Mr. Lewis and Mr. Van Sickle, the Broadwater County Board of County Commissioners requests your continued commitment and ongoing support for the e-government services and solutions available to local government entities across Montana. We rely on these services for our constituents. The loss of these services would be detrimental to our ability to interact and conduct business with our citizens. E-government services and solutions are provided at no cost through the state's longstanding partnership with Montana Interactive, MI, and use of the self-funded model. These services are key to our IT initiatives and imperative to our working together for the good of all Montanans. Without this model and the MI partnership, we would not be able to continue to offer these services. Broadwater County's partnership with MI began in 2007. Since then, we have launched 3 customized online services as part of our county burn permit suit. So we need a motion for, oh, here we are. Of the 63 government entities using the self-funded model across the state, the 30 city and county partnerships represent almost half. Without the self-funded approach, Broadwater County would not have the funding or other resources to provide online services to our constituents. As stewards of the contract, we encourage you to proceed with renewing the MI contract for the final renewal year, extending the contract through 2020, as well as preserving the state's proven unburdened approach to e-government when issuing a future RFP.
I move we sign the letter of support.
Yeah, second.
Motion been made, second to sign a letter of support for the Broadwater County supporting e-government services. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
I have a letter here from Denny Downing and Associates for their responsibilities for our audit, planning, scope, and timing. They propose to begin the audit on approximately February 22nd and issue a report by approximately March 30th, 2018. So I have a letter here from Debbie Kelly for the use of excess vacation hours accruals. Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, Roz Olson, Montana Department of Revenue.
Yeah, hi. Just wanted to introduce Jason Bogus, our regional manager, and talk about us, the office closing in Broadwater upstairs. Want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. As most of you guys are aware that we had some budget shortfalls with the last legislative session. And one thing we've been doing, we've been closing offices. When this is all said and done, there'll be 23 offices throughout the state that are closed. We're moving to more of a field office. For this area, it'll be located out of the Helena office. We will still have appraisers out in this area, but most of our clerical work will be moving to the Helena local office. Do you guys have any questions? I mean, do you want us to move up closer, or how do you guys want to do this? I mean, our job is still to follow Title 15 and provide the best support we can for the taxpayers of Montana. Currently, we have about 50 vacant positions, between 50 and 60 vacant positions that we probably aren't going to hire anytime soon. We're caught up with the whole budget thing. We're still not where we should